The issues of the day into clear focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howe.
And welcome to the broadcast on this June 24th, 2025. We're going to be joined tonight by Colonel Rob Maness. He's going to bring us an update on many things, of course, related to Iran and Israel and the ceasefire. Will it hold? What happened? President Trump pretty upset. Why is he so upset? Who is he upset with? And here we go. Can a percentage, not all, can a percentage of people in the MAGA crowd that keep attacking folks who have differing views, can they learn from experts before they react? Colonel Rob Maness has been in the room, one of the rooms that very few people ever get to walk into in the Pentagon. He knows what he's talking about. He's been warning about how this should be done to be what is best for America and best for Israel. And yet he gets attacked. Annie Cyrus, born and raised in Iran, knows exactly what she's talking about, gives her expertise, and yet she not only gets attacked, apparently some within the MAGA crowd have filed complaints against her on Facebook till she gets demonetized. Really? Is that really how the MAGA crowd, or at least a percentage of the MAGA crowd, should be acting? Now they want to attack Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is entitled to his opinion. So is every other person out there. Can we not agree to disagree within the MAGA community, the percentage that are attacking people like Colonel Maness and Annie Cyrus and others? Can we not agree to disagree? Because since we do agree on probably 80, 90, 95% or more of things, can we not have a robust debate without people attacking each other? Particularly those who have been so defensive and so loyal to the MAGA movement, to President Trump. We can disagree and still get along, but a lot of that tonight is really what's bothering me as I see people like Colonel Maness being attacked online and others. Really? They're experts. We should listen to them so that we can do what's best for, as I said, America and our ally Israel, right? We're also going to talk with David Pine, get an update from Pine on what's going on. Apparently, we've got some leaked information coming out of the White House about how much damage was really done to some of these nuclear facilities in Iran. Now, who would do that and why? Is there a ploy by the neocons to do something? I mean, are they just not done trying to get us involved in more wars in the Middle East? We'll talk with David Pine about that and more. We're also going to be joined tonight by my lovely wife, Melissa. She's going to join us in studio. She hasn't been here in a long time. She'll join us real quick to give you an update on some things. Who else do I got, Logan, tonight? Trevor Loudon, about the Islamic Marxist or the Islamic Socialist, whatever you want to say, running for mayor of New York. I think that's what he is. I think that's his worldview. We got a lot of video clips tonight. He's running in the Democrat primary in New York City. Trevor Loudon will join us talk about that. And then what about the impact on our brains at the cellular level, even when it comes to electromagnetic force, EMF, when it comes to 5G. So many of these things that are impacting us at the cellular level. Got a very interesting clip of Joe Rogan talking with RFK Jr. And now a new study that's come out about the impact even at the cellular level and at the level of our brains with all of this EMF, electromagnetic force, coming at us. All right, we're going to get to all that and more tonight. And also, how about this? Cell phones that are being pinged. Take a look at this. We'll talk about this. Cell phones that are being pinged at some of these progressive rallies that are tied back, says Oversight Project, to Iran and China. Yeah, ABC News is reporting the FBI is going to be shifting some of their agents from immigration enforcement to counterterrorism. Wait a minute. Is there something going on? Is this why they've raised the threat level in America? And rightfully so. And by the way, God bless them for doing this. I would like to see them being able to go back to helping Donald Trump succeed on his domestic level. But yeah, national security. But here we go. This is what we were pounding the desk on last week. But apparently they're shifting assets in the FBI from immigration enforcement to counterterrorism. And let's pray that all this gets wrapped up real quick and President Trump can go back to making America great again on the domestic issues, particularly with the midterms coming. We need our president to be successful on these domestic issues for us, for our kids, our grandkids, but also for the sake of the midterms coming up. By the way, I want to show you this map, talk a little bit about it tonight. It's an older map. I wish they would update it, but the Drug Enforcement Agency is showing major Mexican transnational criminal organizations around the country. How are they working with the Islamist, the Marxist? How is this part of our national threat? Which again is why we need Israel to be able to take care of Israel. We need America to not be distracted by what's going on over there so we can take care of the threats facing us. I think there's a way we can do that. We're going to get into a lot of things tonight, but our ultimate, I guess, message tonight is that we ought to be able to agree and disagree and keep a coalition of freedom-fighting patriots together to rebuild and save the republic. Fight for your ideas. Fight passionately. But let's fight so that at the end of the day, the coalition can still move forward on, well, 80, 90, 95% of things we agree on. Because you know what? The Uniparty, the never-Trumpers, who are now saying they're all about Trump, they want the MAGA crowd to fail. They want President Trump to fail. I want President Trump to succeed, because if President Trump succeeds, that means the country's succeeded. That means that we're establishing a future for our kids and our grandkids. Pray for President Trump. He's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. He really does. What a job. And he didn't have to take it. He didn't, but he did. And I'm so happy with so much of what he's done. So happy with so much of what he's done. And I want to see him get back to it. But we need Israel, and I'm for the Jewish people. I mean, I got my Israeli flag in my studio. Everybody knows I've been a strong Christian Zionist for years. But don't let people tell you what Christian Zionist means from their political view that is slanted and incorrect to manipulate you. I can be a strong Christian Zionist and understand I also have to do what's best for our country and our families and our children and our grandchildren. But I also know that Benjamin Netanyahu has a responsibility to be an honest broker, to be a good ally. And running around since 1995 claiming Iran's weeks from having the bomb over and over, we've got him on video saying that, he's either being dishonest or he's just flat out ignorant. I don't know which one. I tend to think he's being a politician. And you know what? He needs to be a good ally. Running around saying that and trying to get us involved in a war in the Middle East is not being a good ally. But at the same time, if they want to go to war in the Middle East, let them have at it. There's no reason we should put them on a leash. Let them go do it. Finish up the job. Do whatever you want to do. But yeah, I know a lot of people tonight are confused, disappointed, maybe even discouraged. I get it. You know what? That's what the Uniparty, the globalists, the never-Trumpers, that's what they want. They want us discouraged. They want us to get discouraged and check out. I'm not doing that. You're not doing that. They want us to be divided and not be a strong coalition. Don't let them succeed. Give grace to people we disagree with. Not everybody has to agree, but if we can agree on 80% of things, whew, that's a pretty good coalition. Let's see if we can get through this, folks. But let's also remember, we got to face the enemies that are in our country, which are some of the same enemies facing Israel. We'll deal with ours. They can deal with theirs. We can support each other. We can be good allies and keep America and Israel going. Right? But the issues get emotional. People get passionate. I understand. I really do. I get it. Passionate. You're passionate. Because these are important issues. Let's be aware of what the never-Trumpers, the Uniparty, wants to accomplish here with this. Big program tonight. Great guests. Tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social. Let your family and friends know. You're going to hear a lot of truth tonight that you're not going to get at a lot of other networks. And we're going to play some clips for you of what some of the hosts are saying over at Fox News. It's laughable. Laughable. but you're going to hear it. You're going to get expert analysis like you're not going to get anywhere else, which is why our numbers just keep going up, up, up. And thank you for that. So tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social. Tell everybody we're here. Don't forget, we need your support, okay? We're going to go right to our first guest. Please consider going to worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Check out all our sponsors, folks. They're there for you. These are great products. I use them. I wouldn't endorse them if I wasn't using them. I wouldn't endorse them if I didn't think they were great products. They're wonderful products. I do use them. I highly recommend you do the same. It's a great way to use these products and support us at the same time, support your health in some cases, and us at the same time. Worldviewtube.com/sponsors. One of the most powerful ways you can support us is simply by going to our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. You'll also find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail, and our phone number. You can leave Melissa a message or text her. She'll get back to you and help you make a contribution over the phone. Let's get to it. Joining me now is Trevor Loudon. We're going to talk about the guy, the Muslim socialist that's running for mayor of New York City, the primary today. He's like 16 points ahead in the last poll I saw. Let's find out who this guy is, what he's all about. Got some interesting clips. Let's go to our expert on Marxism, Trevor Loudon. Hey, Trevor, welcome back to Brandon House Live. Thanks for being with us.
Always a pleasure, Brandon. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So what do you know about this guy? Zoran Mamdani?
Mamdani.
Zoran Mamdani.
Well, as you say, he's a Marxist and a Muslim, but it's way worse than that. He's a card-carrying member of Democratic Socialist of America, and the whole of Democratic Socialist of America from all over the country is backing him with phone banking, with money. So he's got an army of 90,000 people behind him. That's pretty big. And this is how the AOC won her congressional seat, etc. You know, with these mass support from DSA. And DSA is a communist organization. They're aligned to Cuba. They're aligned to various Marxist groups all around the third world. They are a communist group. But the other factor is that he's not just a Muslim, he is a Shia Muslim. He's a Twelver. That is a sect of Shia Islam that is the official state religion of Iran. So he is in part of the most militant section of Islam. The Twelvers...
Are they looking? What are the Twelvers looking for the 12th Imam?
The 12th Imam to return to earth,
which comes during a time of great chaos, right?
That's right. They believe that the 12th Imam will come back to earth and usher on the day of judgment. But to hasten his return, their job is to create maximum chaos on earth: wars, revolutions, terrorism, etc. So this explains the position of the Iranian regime, why they're just continually causing trouble wherever they go. The trouble isn't for any political reason, it's their religious motivation. You know, they're going to bring on Judgment Day by creating maximum chaos and destroying many Christians and Jews as they possibly can. So this guy is an open and proud Twelver. He adheres to the same branch of Islam that is the official state religion of Iran, and his whole family is the same way. His mother's a famous film director. She did Mississippi Masala and Monsoon Wedding and things like that, but a very, very strong anti-Israel activist. And his father is even worse. He's a professor at Columbia University. He took part in the big pro-Hamas rallies that were recently there. He works very closely with people from the Freedom Road Socialist Organization, or Liberation Road, the pro-Chinese Maoists, the people that started Black Lives Matter, the people, and this is important, DSA and Liberation Road. The fathers were close to Liberation Road, the son is part of DSA, are both leaders of the defund the police movement and the George Floyd movement. And so what do you think they're going to try and do in New York regarding crime?
Yeah.
What do you think they're going to try and do with the police intelligence service? New York's one of the only city governments now that has its own police intelligence department. which has kept the city pretty safe since 9/11. How do you think they're going to go under Mamdani, a guy with both Shia Islam sympathies and communist sympathies?
Look at this. This is him, right? You say his attitude toward the police. This is him, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's him, right?
Yeah, so how do you think police morale is going to go under him? Now, here's an important point, Brannon. The worst time in New York in the last 40 years was in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. The place was a cesspit. You know, Times Square was a mess. There was drugs, crime, prostitution everywhere. The tourists were staying away. Rudy Giuliani had to come and fix it, right? Why was it a cesspit? Because the mayor at the Times was David Dinkins, another member of Democratic Socialist of America, a Marxist, who didn't support the police, didn't police crime, and just thought criminals were just poor, oppressed people. So the last DSA communist to be mayor of New York brought New York into the pits. It was the worst time for New York in a century. Well, now you've got a guy who's even worse, who's also got radical Islamic ties and a militant anti-police history, an actual Marxist, an actual 12er, stands a good chance of becoming mayor of America's most important financial city.
And he's going against Cuomo, the former governor, right?
Cuomo, yeah. And it's not often I cheer for a Cuomo, but tonight I am.
Yeah, I bet. Here, look at this little clip. We can't play the whole thing, but look at this. Here we go.
My name is Zahran Kwame Mamdani. I was born and raised in Kampala, Uganda. I moved to New York City when I was 7 years old. And my political journey is in many ways centered around the issue of Palestinian solidarity activism. So, growing up in a family that was very political, the issue of Palestine was one that was very near and dear to me. And, I'm Ugandan. My father came of age in the independence era, fighting against the forces of colonialism, both in terms of that which was there prior to independence and that which was there post-independence. And Palestine was always a struggle that anyone who cared about independence in that time and who cared about colonialism and who then cared about apartheid in South Africa also cared about Palestine, especially where I grew up. And when I went to college at Bowdoin College, a small liberal arts school in Maine, I co-founded our school's first Students for Justice in Palestine, SJP. And for me, that was a real moment where my politics transformed from something that was passive, something that I held and maybe discussed and debated on Facebook, into something that was active, where I organized with others to create events and to agitate my fellow students and to push campaigns around the campus. And, we had maybe 8, 10, sometimes 11 active members, but because we were all so invested, we started to host the first Palestinian film festival that we had at our school. We launched an academic boycott campaign to get our school in compliance with the demands of BDS vis-a-vis universities that we were partnering with or having study abroad with in Israel.
By the way, BDS, boycott, divestment, sanctions. So it's boycotting all Israeli companies, Israeli products, which these people never really do, because you're going to stop eating cherry tomatoes, or you're going to stop using thumb drives, you're going to stop using cell phones. I mean, this is so stupid. This guy's an idiot.
Well, this is the thing, though. New York has a huge Jewish population. A lot of support for Israel, a lot of financial support for Israel comes out of New York. A lot of pension money, I believe, is invested in Israel. If he is in power, he's going to do everything he can to defund Israel and break those bridges. He is a militant anti-Israeli guy. And just another thing, you mentioned the word colonialism. Well, his father worked very closely with, I said, a Maoist called Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz. What brought them together? They were both opponents of colonialism, and they both believed that Palestinian terrorism and other terrorism around the world was not terrorism because it was done in opposition to colonialism. So if it's done in opposition to colonialism, it's not terrorism.
And how do they define colonialism?
Well, that's Israel is a colonialist power in the West, on the West Bank and Gaza, for instance. It's a colonialist power. It treats the Palestinian territories as colonies. America's a colonial power because it has control of Puerto Rico. It took land from the Indians. It took Hawaii and this kind of thing. So America's a colonial power. Israel is a colonial power. So terrorism against Israel or America is not really terrorism. It's freedom. It's fighting for freedom.
That's what they teach.
That's what they teach. That's what his father taught. That's what Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz taught. And he referenced colonialism in the speech you just showed me. So this is a guy who hates the cops, hates Israel, really, I believe, hates America, is a Marxist revolutionary, an Islamic 12er, a Shia Islam 12er, sympathetic to Iran. But other than that, look, he'll be great.
Here he is talking about New York to a bunch of Muslims. Listen to this.
Alhamdulillah, there are 1 million Muslims in this city. 200,000 of us are registered to vote as Democrats. In the last election, only 7% of us voted. Now, I will not blame anyone because often it feels like there isn't much to vote for. But this June 24th, with early voting starting tomorrow, it is an opportunity for us to show that Muslims don't just belong in New York City, we also belong in City Hall. Because yesterday I stood on the debate and Andrew Cuomo stood next to me. And here was a man who was the governor for a decade. And he could not name a single mosque he had ever visited. He could not name it because he does not care.
Wow. So there you go. So a lot of Muslims are going to go out for him, I guess. So we'll see where that goes.
Well, this is the thing, this is why there's the big danger of mass Muslim migration is the political power that eventually comes with it. We see this all through Europe. We may now see it in our most important financial center. So look, hopefully he will not be elected. But the fact that a hardcore 12er Shia Marxist belongs to a group that hates the police and loves communist Cuba could even be on the ballot is shocking in itself. Even the fact that he's a contender, but that's the power of the organized left, and it's the weakness of the U.S. media. Those are the two things that have brought
I bet
this.
there's not a lot of so-called conservative outlets tonight exposing his Islam, is there?
No, look, Amy Meck has done, as I said, our friend Amy Meck has done a lot of work on this. There's a few others, but you won't hear this on Fox News. You won't hear this on anything like that. It's just too contentious.
Yep.
But
in fact,
imagine
here he is.
Wake up tomorrow and he's the mayor. Imagine what that's going to do.
Yeah. Well, if he wins the primary, he likely wins the general.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. The primary is the election in New York.
The primary is the election in New York. Here he is, I guess, wanting to set up socialist grocery stores. Here we go.
Grocery prices are out of control. The cost of eggs and milk has skyrocketed. Some stores are even using dynamic pricing, jacking up the cost over the course of a day depending on what they can get away with. It doesn't need to be this way. I'm Zahran Mamdani, and as mayor, I will create a network of city-owned grocery stores. It's like a public option for produce. We will redirect city funds from corporate supermarkets to city-owned grocery stores, whose mission is lower prices, not price gouging. These stores will operate without a profit motive or having to pay property taxes or rent, and will pass on those savings to you.
Grocery store that doesn't care about profit, doesn't have to pay property taxes or rent, and underbid the free market enterprise entrepreneur who has worked there maybe for decades. Or maybe it's been in their family for 100 years, their grocery store. Let's set that up. This is socialism, but that's what you're saying he is. He's a Marxist Islamist. He's the epitome of the red-green. He's the epitome of the red-green axis in one guy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, imagine what he's going to do to the retail industry, the food retailing industry in New York, which tens of thousands of families depend for their livelihood on. But this is what socialists do. They wreck a whole sector. They put up some little substitute, and this is the big thing they champion. I don't think the Cubans even still have such a degree of public ownership of food distribution as this guy is proposing. But you say this is the red-green axis. This is the enemy of the West. This is what Carlos the Jackal warned us about, the Venezuelan terrorist who said America can only be destroyed through a coalition of radical Islam and Marxist revolutionaries.
Here he is changing. Here he is changing up his accent, I think. Here.
Because I think that New Yorkers, more than they hate a politician they disagree with, they hate a politician they can't trust.
On the subject of trust, you've adopted different speaking accents in different scenarios.
But they go to their local bodega.
Is there one that's real and one that's affected?
What I would say is, as any immigrant knows, having been born in Kampala, Uganda, and then raised in South Africa and moving here when I'm 7 years old, is there are different parts of my life.
Worldwide tour is a worldwide tour is a worldwide tour.
Mamdani was talking about a worldwide press tour back when he was a rapper.
Bring the flavor to the fish, bring the flavor to the rice.
In a Disney movie directed by his mother.
Nepotism and hard work goes a long way. Here in New York City, this is how I speak.
Wow. He seems like a fraud from the word go when it comes to his political shenanigans, doesn't it? That's my opinion.
Okay, well, he's running as a Democrat, but he's a communist, so there's a fraud right there. He's running as a moderate when he's an extreme Shia 12er. There's another fraud right there. Marxists...
Hold right there. Hard break. We'll be right back.
Nature has a rhythm, a quiet strength, a way of restoring, protecting, and renewing us. Wellness isn't just about how you feel today. It's the quiet choices you make for tomorrow. At myvitamin.com/worldview, we've made daily self-care simple. Quality vitamins, daily supplements, and targeted nutrition. myvitamin.com/worldview makes it easy. Pure ingredients, thoughtfully combined, tailored for your body. Formulated by a doctor who has over 25 years of medical practice experience and is a certified functional medicine provider. Visit myvitamin.com/worldview today and take the next step towards strength, balance, and resilience. Discover the wide range of med packs made for you and your loved ones. What you nurture today becomes the strength you walk in tomorrow.
All right, welcome back. We're going to go to Colonel Rob Maness here in just 1 second. Joining me now again is Trevor Loudon of TrevorLoudon.com. TrevorLoudon.com. So, if he, I don't know why Donald Trump doesn't sell Trump Tower, to be honest with you. After the way that state treated him, I don't understand why he doesn't divest his interest and get out of that state. But if this guy wins, I mean, can you imagine owning, whether it's Donald Trump down to the local gas station owner, can you imagine owning a business in New York City under this guy?
No, I can't, and I can't imagine losing my job, which thousands of New Yorkers will soon do when the private sector tanks, when the crime goes through the roof, where the bad old days of Dinkins come back, where the police are harassed and disbanded, and I'm sure that he's going to be a very opposing to any ICE attempts to round up the illegals in New York. Mm-hmm. So I'll be fighting back on that as well. And he's got a powerful city government behind him, and he's got a whole nest of fellow Democratic Socialist America comrades already on the New York City Council, plus a Democratic Party that's thoroughly infiltrated by the left. And there's nothing good that can come out of this. And I just hope enough sensible New Yorkers vote against this man to make sure he is, working at McDonald's next week.
TrevorLoudon.com, TrevorLoudon.com. As always, Trevor, we appreciate your worldview analysis.
Thanks so much, Brandon.
Check out his books. Check out his books, his X account, everything. Trevor Loudon, okay, and TrevorLoudon.com. All right, we're going to be joined by Colonel Rob Maness, David Pine, Annie Cyrus, yet tonight, Dr. Lana. But real quick, I wanted to bring my beautiful wife, Melissa House, back into the studio. She hasn't been here in a long time, and I wanted her to come back in and then just tell you how important this elixir is, as well as the other great products at melissahousebg.com. Because, again, this is a major, major way you can help us continue to push out this network and all this great programming free. And, folks, this has 80 clinical trials behind it. Here you go, babe. Great to have you in the studio. The mic is yours.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I just wanted to come on and just thank everyone that is subscribing to Bill of Grace. And it's just such an amazing product. And we tell you all, I know Brandon tells you all the time of all the ways it's helped him. And I just get reports from people continually when I'm on the phone where it has helped them in so many different ways. And so I just love to come on here occasionally and just tell people that you're helping support, the network, but you're also going to help support your health. It helps with skin issues. I've had people that have had pretty serious eczema, other skin issues that it's helped with, of course, fine lines, wrinkles, hair growth, all of that is obviously a plus. But
Yeah, it's a plus.
joint health is a really big thing I hear from people, that it's really helped them with their joint health. I talked to a lady not too long ago who said she had trouble like walking. She walks a lot outside, and she was getting where it was harder for her to walk. And within like a few weeks of taking the Bill of Grace, she was able to walk and not have any discomfort. I hear that all the time. I hear people that were having trouble walking around the grocery store and things like that, that are now able to get around really without a lot of discomfort like they used to. And I think it's definitely because of the cat's claw combined with the collagen, because as we all get older, our collagen drops in our body, and we need that in order to keep our joints healthy.
And why is this collagen better than that cheap stuff?
Well, the peptides are cut short, first of all, and it's top drawer collagen, and it's able to cross the brain blood barrier, where you're absorbing about 95% of this product versus what you would get in another product with collagen. You'll be lucky to absorb about 5%. So people tell me all the time, like, I can tell a difference. They tell me they feel better, just overall feel better, overall feeling of well-being, just feeling healthier, having more energy.
And we've had people talk about their eyes, right?
Right. And it's also really good for eye health. I had a lady not too long ago that had a retinal surgery, and she was in a lot of pain and having some, vision issues after, and she started taking the elixir, and she said she really noticed that it helped her. But it is supposed to help. Different doctors that have, been on talking about this product, that promote the product, say that that's one thing that it does target is the vision. Mm-hmm. Mainly like joint health, vision, skin issues, but we have hair, a lot of gut issues.
Because the lining of your gut is collagen.
Right. The lining of your gut, and your gut's, really,
leaky gut's a problem.
Right. And it affects everything. So I just can't say enough about this product. It's helped me so much. I feel way better than I did before I started taking it. I have more energy.
And your hairdresser says you have more hair.
My hair grows so fast that I have to get it cut way more frequently than I used to. So, but I just love talking to the people and hearing all the positive comments, and about 80% of people that subscribe to this do not get off of it. And so,
which tells you something.
Right. So that tells you that it's working, and it really helps us in supporting the network. So I wouldn't push a product that I didn't feel would help people, but I just feel like this product is just, overall, it just does so many different things for your health. And also the astaxanthin is a strong antioxidant. So it fights free radicals, and all that can help you with.
Right.
We all need antioxidants. So the collagen, which is the top drawer, the cat's claw, and the antioxidant, all three of those combined. And then there's also vitamins. I hear people say sometimes, well, I take all these vitamins, so I can't really afford the elixir. But there's vitamins in this product as well. There's C, A, E, and I think there's like one other vitamin in it as well. So, if that's an issue, you could always, cut back on some of your vitamins.
And some of those vitamins they're taking may be really cheap, bad vitamins that are
kind
not
of wash through your system.
Yeah, washing through anyway.
But with all these products combined, you're able to retain the vitamins and the nutrients. And like I said, I can't say enough about the product. And the skincare is amazing as well. If you're looking for really good skincare that helps target fine lines and wrinkles and keeps your face hydrated, that was one thing that it really has done for me, is help my face stay hydrated. And I just love it. So
Good. All right. Well, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
MelissaHouseBG.com, MelissaHouseBG.com. She's the one that introduced us to this product. She's the one that made me get on it. I was like, yeah,
I
it's
don't
good.
usually do that. But
No, you don't usually do that. But she made me get on it. I was like, yeah, it's good for you. But I wasn't really going to.
I could tell more energy within the first few days of being on it and was sleeping better, just a variety of things that it helped right away.
Well, she made me get on it. I'm glad I did because my hands cleared up. I haven't taken a Pepcid since December of 2023. Hair growth has been amazing. So again, we've just had great results. And again,
it's a great way to help support us.
yeah,
So.
great way to support us as well. So do that. MelissaHouseBG.com, MelissaHouseBG.com. We'll be right back with Colonel Rob Maness, David Pine, Annie Cyrus, and Dr. Lana. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Consumers often ask, what should I expect when I take the Bella Grace Elixir? And the answer's varied. It really depends on what your health and wellness needs are. I would consider this as your foundational core product for a whole range of health and wellness issues. Let me give you a few examples. If you're a little bit older and you have some joint health issues, some problems with mobility and discomfort, the elixir is going to be your best friend. If you have some skin health issues, wrinkles, hydration, aging, all of those elements are going to be benefited from the elixir, including age spots. Now, if you're in a younger demographic, maybe visual health is where you need some assistance. Eye fatigue, dry eyes, all of those are going to be benefited by the elixir. It's a core product because it benefits so many.
Joining me now is Colonel Rob Maness. Let's get an update from the Colonel on what he thinks about the ceasefire and where things are going. Colonel, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Brandon. Thanks for having me back with you.
Great to have you back with us.
Is that your or my dog?
No, that's mine. Those are mine. Let's go right away to, oh my word, somebody just came into the studio, that's for sure. That's the somebody's invaded my territory talk. Let's go to a clip from, what do you call them now? The Cartoon Network? Is that what you call them?
The Cartoon Fox News Network? Yeah,
yes.
You betcha.
Yeah, here's Brian Kilmeade. Watch and listen to this. Here we go.
And with the Nimitz now there, a third aircraft carrier in the region, do you believe the B-2s and B-52s are on board?
Well, the B-2s and the B-52s would be deployed from a land base, and that most likely would be Diego Garcia, but they can also deploy out of the United States and be refueled en route. We did that in past conflicts in the Middle East. The carriers coming in there, the two that'll be in area, that'll be able to sustain a very robust fighter-bomber kind of presence.
Okay, so, Colonel, he thought you would put those massive planes with their huge wingspan on, and they weigh so much. He thought that they could go on the system that, you know, the catapult system that shoots them off of an aircraft carrier. This is Brian Kilmeade. This is Fox News. This is the Cartoon Network.
Brian earned the nickname Cartoon Kilmeade from me that day. I've learned a lot from President Trump over the years watching him. And Cartoon Kilmeade is the chief nutty commentator for the Cartoon Fox News Network. I was shocked when I saw that. I was up early and watching. It was an early morning piece. And luckily, he had Captain Brent Sadler, retired Navy, there to blow right by that and help him over that.
Well, he's not alone. He's not alone over there. Here is, what's her name? The former press secretary for Trump, the first time, McEnany. Here she is. This is how simple she thinks this operation would be.
America First is not sitting in a beach chair and using words. It's taking decisive action when we can take out Fordo with one swoop of an airplane.
Take it out with one swoop of an airplane. Wow. This is the analysis you get at Cartoon Fox.
There it is. One airplane with two bombs, and that's it. And when I told Grant Stinchfield the night before the strike that it was going to take an air campaign and probably 14 to somewhere between 14 and 30 of these bombs to get this job done, I was attacked not by lefties, but by MAGA people. saying that's not true. Fox says it's one airplane, no boots on the ground. Well, also with this type of target, I said that the best way to take it out was exactly what even Kilmeade managed to get out of his mouth in that interview, and that in the first interview we saw, and that was that the best way to attack that target to ensure operational and goal success was to put an IDF commando team into that target and then take them out with whatever materials they needed to pick up and destroy the rest of it. That's the only way to know for sure. And as you can see right now, the president's being attacked using shaky or shady defense intelligence analysis reports that have come out saying, assessing that no damage was done, even to the Fordow facility. Well, I saw the 6 penetrator holes, which means there were 2 weapons at a minimum put in each of those. The general said they dropped 14 total on 2 sites. Then there were 12 put on the Fordow site. Nothing that was in there, if it was in there, is going to survive 12 of those. Nothing.
So where is the highly enriched uranium running around? Is it running around Iran? Is it running around Iran somewhere tonight?
Well, that's the part we really don't know, publicly anyway. I think the president and his team probably had classified information on that issue, but the public information, we don't know. We do know there were satellite photos that were available on the open source networks that showed there were trucks there. Look, the Iranians had a lot of lead time on this. He gave them 60 days, then the Israelis started their thing, and they heard the drum beats leading up to it over the first 9 days. So, they had a lot of time to try to evacuate some of their equipment and stuff out of these sites. And you should assume that they at least got some of it out. So the centrifuges are not small, and it's a lot of equipment. But the highly enriched uranium, you're talking about, I think, about 60 kilograms of the material. So nobody should be surprised if it was evacuated and it's running around loose out there. Nobody. But that doesn't mean that we didn't destroy the targets that the president said we destroyed. We still have to wait on the final bomb damage assessment, which could take weeks. Because you have to pull all of these intelligence reports together and all this data. Everything from seismic data to communications data and information flow, all kinds of things like that, in order to make a really good assessment of how much damage you caused to a hardened and deeply buried target like this.
Here was President Trump on his way out of the White House today toward Marine One before he went to the NATO summit. Listen to this.
Happy with Iran either, but I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have 2 countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Tell me about the frustration level here. What do you think is going on in his mind and in his world? Who is he really frustrated with?
There's a couple of things operating here. One is the president's intent. He clearly stated his intent. The Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, and the Vice President, all his political appointees to do this type of work, all stated his clear intent, which was, we're not at war with Iran. We're only at war with their nuclear capability. We're not looking for regime change, and that's it, right? But I do have more targets, and I'll continue my air campaign if they don't come to the peace table. That's the president's intent. Well, unfortunately, with warfare, it doesn't quite always work the way the commander's intent happens. And look, when the president made the decision after being begged by the Israelis to do this job, he must have answered the 2 questions I had to his satisfaction, which was, why does the United States need to do this? And why does it need to do it now? And the answer that I was looking for that one was, there's an existential threat to us, the United States of America, not just our troops, but to us, the country here at home. So he must have had answers to those kind of questions, because I would imagine he's the smartest commander in chief we probably ever had. that I would imagine he was asking those questions and demanding answers to them.
So do you think there is an existential threat to the country from Iran? Do you think that's what he was told?
I don't have any information that shows that, but as far as directly on our soil, do they want to do it? Yeah, they have a stated goal to do it, but I haven't seen any facts yet that show that. But I don't have classified access, so I don't know. I'm assuming the president had the information he needed to make the decision. So the Israelis begged him. They didn't do the commando raid. They should have, but they didn't do it. They begged America to come in to this war. So the president made his decision, and we did this mission. And he openly stated after the mission, when he made the announcement, that we have more targets and we will continue this if you don't come to the peace table. Here's the thing that happened, though. When he did that, the wheel of war turned, and the United States and the president of the United States became the commander-in-chief of an allied operation. Something that Bibi Netanyahu forgot when he gave permission to launch those aircraft after the ceasefire was broken by the Iranians. That's why the president is mad, I would imagine.
So
I would be too, because the president is now commander-in-chief of this allied operation, and he also personally negotiated the ceasefire, and he gave an order to his subordinate, Bibi Netanyahu, and Netanyahu didn't follow the orders. So, look, they became a protectorate, a real protectorate, not the one that people complain about when we entered this war. This should show people a couple of things that you've seen even people supposedly that support the president say is that he's owned by Israel and all that stuff. Well, that's never been true to my knowledge, and I don't accept it. And he just proved it. Because I think he's more mad at Prime Minister Netanyahu than the Iranians, because he's now his direct subordinate in this allied force war operation. Whether the President Trump intended that or not, that's what happens when you do that, and when you follow on and negotiate an agreement, and one of the combatants is on your team now, and you're in charge of the team as a commander-in-chief, and you tell them to do something, you expect them to do it, right? Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. So
Bibi didn't do it. Bibi didn't do it because he didn't figure that out either. And that's what President Trump's frustrated about.
Has President Trump also been failed by...
What do you mean?
Has some of his advisors failed him, do you think?
I don't know, but he's being pulled in a lot of directions. One is the direction of the America First, peace through strength supporters of MAGA, like I am. That's why I supported him primarily from a national security perspective, which said two things: no new wars, but Iran's not going to have a nuclear weapon. I remembered that. That's why you hear me talk the way I do about it. I'm not yelling and screaming and stomping my feet. Because I understand both of those things aren't necessarily, they don't have to be mutually exclusive, but by and large they are.
What do you make of this spat between like Mark Levin and Steve Bannon? And I mean,
that's what I'm talking about. The neocons represented by Mark Levin and Lindsey Graham. Last night, Lindsey Graham stood on the Senate floor for a couple of hours, I think, advocating for the United States to do a regime change in Iran. That's what Levin and that crowd wants. Bannon is in the same line of thinking and alignment that I'm in, I'm pretty sure. And we're all on social media talking and making enough noise so the president will hear it, because we know he's getting pulled in different directions on this. And you see that the messaging, and it always has some impact, the public messaging that people like Bannon and Posobiec, and in a smaller way, I'm sure myself, may get put into that mix. When we do that kind of messaging, he's able to hear us in spite of the big megaphones from the Cartoon Fox Network and people like Lindsey Graham, which he listens to them. He does listen to them. So we have to speak up. It's not that we don't trust the president. It's that we don't trust them to get us into another war by convincing him of one thing being true when it's not. That's what's going on. And there's all kinds of efforts still by people inside the government that are opposed to this president's policies that are doing things like setting up the media hits on Tulsi Gabbard to say she's on the way out and all that, when really they're in alignment. They even got the president to publicly almost dress her down when he was getting on Air Force One the other day. The media did.
And yet we see Mark Levin reportedly just got appointed today to a DHS advisory board.
Yeah. And today he tweeted out attacking the president.
What did he say?
That's right.
What did he say?
I don't know yet what he said, but I saw the reporting on it before I went into my show, which is what I've been doing the last couple hours. So, because the president doesn't want to do regime change. The president said in an interview on Air Force One this morning.
Well, he said he didn't like the.
I don't know if you had that clip.
He said he doesn't like the word ceasefire. That's what Levin said. That's one of the things he said.
Yeah, that's one of the things he said. But the president this morning, after the F-bomb drop at the helicopter, got on Air Force One after it was airborne and made a comment about, I don't like regime change. I'm not looking for regime change. It creates chaos. That tells you that Lindsey Graham and Mark Levin's efforts to sign the United States of America's children up to die on the soil of Iran, doing an unnecessary and meaningless regime change that is guaranteed to fail every single time, didn't work so far. That's what they're upset about. They exploded this morning. They exploded.
Listen to this clip from President Trump.
Do you want to see regime change in Iran?
No. If there was. But no, I don't want it. I'd like to see everything calm down as quickly as possible. Regime change takes chaos. And ideally, we don't want to see so much chaos. So we'll see how it does. You know, the Iranians are very good traders, very good business people. And they got a lot of oil. They should be fine. They should be able to rebuild and do a good job. They're never going to have nuclear. But other than that, they should do a great job.
Do you want to see regime change?
All right, so obviously that would upset Mark Levin. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, they're putting a lot of effort. A senator standing on the Senate floor for several hours advocating regime change last night. They're putting a lot of effort into this, and they failed, so they're upset.
And just to be clear,
their followers
I would be fine. I'm all for regime change. I just want it to come from the Iranian people, not the U.S. government.
And if you listen to what President Trump said closely, that's where he is at, especially when you line it up with the tweet he put out, I think it was yesterday, about make Iran great again. Regime change is a dirty word or not politically correct, and those kind of things. That was giving moral support to the Iranian people that want to do regime change. No president's ever done that. And that's where he's at, too, that if it comes, but it's not going to be from us.
All right.
That's what Graham and Levin are upset.
And yet some of the MAGA folks can't seem to understand the common sense of this conversation and are attacking you and others. Closing comment on that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've been attacked aggressively today because I called Mark Levin out. He made some comment, I think it was to Bannon maybe on Twitter about, well, it's in your DNA, or maybe it was to Carlson about being an isolationist. And the tweet, one line tweet was, it's in your DNA. So I screenshotted that when somebody sent it to me. And I just told the story. Well, my DNA goes all the way back to the Continental Army, and every generation up to me and my son so far has served in every war. You're not going to don't call me an isolationist. That's an insult that's intended to smear us to get your way. And what we demand is that our country go into putting our kids in harm's way in a deliberative way. And I've been attacked very aggressively by people on that for even using the DNA term when Mark Levin's the one that put it out there and brought it up.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. MAGA folks, you need good information. I'm sorry.
Let me just say one more thing. Mm-hmm. You idiots that are doing that, you're attacking the most pro-Israel people the president's supporter group.
That's right.
You're dumb. Yep. You're idiots for doing that. Mm-hmm. Stop doing that, and let's get on with the mission.
100%.
And if you have connection to Bibi Netanyahu, let him know the commander-in-chief's now President Donald J. Trump, and he needs to follow orders.
But that's what you get when you get your information from Fox News. instead of being at Worldview Tube, where you get great analysis.
You didn't say it right. You didn't say it right. Cartoon
from
Fox
the
News.
Cartoon
Fox News.
When you don't get your information from Colonel Rob Maness, David Pine, and many others have been trying to explain this to you for weeks on end, even before this last skirmish started. RobManess.com, each and every day, 2 p.m. Central, 3 Eastern, right here at WorldviewTube.com. You can follow him on X and at RobManess.com. As always, Colonel, thank you for your service to our country that continues today and for being a part of our broadcast team.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you. We'll be right back with David Pine.
Consumers often ask, what should I expect when I take the Bella Grace elixir? And the answer's varied. It really depends on what your health and wellness needs are. I would consider this as your foundational core product for a whole range of health and wellness issues. Let me give you a few examples. If you're a little bit older and you have some joint health issues, some problems with mobility and discomfort, the elixir is going to be your best friend. If you have some skin health issues, wrinkles, hydration, aging, all of those elements are going to be benefited from the elixir, including age spots. Now, if you're in a younger demographic, maybe visual health is where you need some assistance. Eye fatigue, dry eyes, all of those are going to be benefited by the elixir. It's a core product because it benefits so many.
We live in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our power grid. World War III seems to be right on the horizon. Let me ask you this. Do you have a satellite phone? Should communications go down with cell towers? Do you have a satellite phone to get a hold of that college student or your spouse who travels, whatever it might be, to get a hold of your senior adult parents? We have satellite phones at worldviewtalk.com, and you get the satellite phone for free when you sign up for their very reasonable payment programs for the service. Sign up for the service with a reasonable contract, get the satellite phone for free. Worldviewtalk.com. You'll also find they have, well, what I now have, which is a solar generator. Yeah, I have a gas generator, an LP propane generator, but what if that goes down? I want to back up to my backup. So I now have a solar generator as well. You'll find them at worldviewtalk.com. Check it out today, worldviewtalk.com. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Don't forget again, we are brought to you by worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. We've been going 7 days a week now for quite some time. As you guys know, broadcasting specials on Saturday, on Sunday, related to all that's been going on in the Middle East. If you appreciate all we're doing and the fact we push it out for free, we do need your support. One way you can support us is through our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. We have Annie Cyrus still up and coming yet tonight on a book written by Khomeini. How many of you know that the leader of Iran wrote a book on how to properly sexually molest children, how to engage in sexual behavior with infants? The Khomeini. Really? We got it for you tonight. All right, joining me now is David Pine to give us the latest perspective. You just heard from Colonel Rob Maness. Let's now go to David Pine. David, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, Brandon, thanks for having me on.
All right, so apparently President Trump said this to Benjamin Netanyahu, stop everything. Jerusalem Post says, Trump raised voice at Netanyahu in tense call over calling off strikes. Quote, it was a tough conversation between Netanyahu and President Trump. Trump viewed this as a personal achievement, made it clear that no one, absolutely no one, would undermine it, end quote. My perspective has been, David, and I think Colonel Maness as well, is that we should just stay out of this and let Israel do their thing. Give them the technology, sell them the weaponry, whatever you want to do there. But they said they could handle it, and they said they were going to go it alone if we didn't get involved. And they said they could use commandos to take out the nuclear sites. And we should have just let them do their thing. Colonel Maness is saying, look, unless there's a direct threat to us, where is our national interest in doing this? Are they an ally? Yes. And this is coming from me, a Christian Zionist. But I think I, frankly, have been one of the most balanced Christian Zionists you'll find. I mean, look at Mark Levin. He's not a Christian Zionist, but he's a Zionist. Look at how he's acting, right? And these people just want to go to war. And then you got the other people on the other side that, are saying whatever they're saying. I'm trying to be where the truth is, where common sense is, in the middle here, saying, look, if Israel sees Iran as an existential threat, let them deal with it. And we can sell them weaponry, give them satellite imagery and intelligence and all that stuff I've been saying for the last several weeks. But there's nothing in my Christian Zionist world, there's certainly nothing in the interpretation of Genesis 12, verse 3 that says our government has to fund their government to go to wars, or that I have to have my sons drafted and go to war and die in the Middle East. I can bless them in a lot of ways. It doesn't have to be that I have to agree with everything their government does, as I've said a million times now. So if I can say I've tried to be one of the most balanced Christian Zionists, you'll find. But Israel should have been allowed to do the job, finish the job. I don't think we should be handcuffing them, yelling at them, telling them what to do, what not to do. Let them do their thing. We should be concentrating on our borders, the terror cells here, the Iranian terrorists here. And as we're on the news, on TV tonight, we're getting reports the FBI is actually moving more of their resources into dealing with Iranian terror cells in the U.S. Okay, I know Iran's pretty close, within missile range, obviously, ballistic missile range and other missile range of Israel. Iran can do that, and they're doing it, and they've done it. But they're here among us right now. So why can't we deal with our problem, they deal with their problem, and the two allies support each other? Why do we keep calling them off or thinking that Benjamin Netanyahu thinks we need to somehow get involved, particularly when they said they could do it on their own, including their commandos? I just think this thing has turned into a huge mess that's divided the MAGA crowd that I think, I'm afraid, is going to boomerang on Israel if the things that come to pass, that I fear come to pass. And at the end of the day, the whole thing will have been a mess. We should have just let Israel do their thing, and we concentrate on our internal security and our domestic issues and the midterms. And you can do that and still be a good Christian Zionist on my part. Do you agree with me? I mean, have I, as a Christian Zionist, that you know I am, have you actually been a little shocked at how balanced I've been on this?
I have. No, I mean, if you define Zionist as someone who has a lifetime of record of supporting the state of Israel, its existence and right of self-defense, yes, and right of, to be able to respond militarily to, urgent threats. I mean, that's who I am as well. I mean, I guess I'm a Zionist by that definition, but you and I, share the same moral code in that we believe that God's laws are supreme, the laws of Jesus Christ that he set forth in the Holy Bible, and that there's no exceptions for the murder of innocent people, innocent women and children in the Bible, as Israel's been doing in Gaza. But to your larger point, let me just first of all say I want to commend President Trump for returning back to the America First conservative agenda. Since the time he bombed Iran, he's been working around the clock, along with J.D. Vance and the rest of his senior cabinet officials, to try to negotiate this ceasefire. And this ceasefire is it's his pivot back to America First. He kind of went in the wrong direction, I would argue, greenlighting the Israeli attack on Iran, which Israel has been trying to get the U.S. to authorize since the Bush years. I think it was unnecessary. I think there was no urgent threat. I think it presented more of an existential threat to the U.S. and Israel, and I think it accomplished very little. As I sent you, there's a top secret DIA battle damage assessment that shows that not one of the three nuclear sites that the U.S. bombed was destroyed. The underground facilities for all three remain intact, according to the DIA, according to U.S. Central Command. This is their initial battle damage assessment, so it's not complete, but their initial assessment is that only buildings located above ground were severely damaged, and that the underground facilities remain entirely intact. In two of the cases, two of the sites have the entryways are blocked. So that's something Iran can redig the entryway to access the intact nuclear facilities. But essentially, as I've been stating for years now, this is a mission impossible. This is the whole idea that we could use conventional bombing strikes of any duration to destroy Iran's nuclear bomb-making program was really a farce. I mean, just based on my military experience, and that doesn't extend to as Rob Maness's to battle damage assessments or Air Force experience. I'm an Army guy. I concluded that this was never going to happen, and for a lot of reasons, as I explained in my latest Substack article today.
Your latest Substack article at dpine.substack.com, dpine.substack.com. Take a look at this. Israel reportedly knows location of Iran's enriched uranium stockpiles. So where is this? I mean, they think they know where it's at. What are they going to do with it? What do you think is going to happen here?
Well, do they cross Trump again? I mean, Trump had this the ceasefire agreement. He announced it right after he announced it. Within 15 minutes, Israel was conducting a massive bombing strike in Iran that made him angry, and then Iran, of course, responded to that, and then Israel responded again, and violated the ceasefire yet again this morning, and I'm sure you've, during your interview with Rob Maness, you probably had, President Trump's, his comments, which were not family oriented.
We had to bleep it out.
For, I guess good reason, really, because he's extremely angry at Israel.
But he raised his voice. I guess it's being leaked. He was yelling. He was raising his voice at Netanyahu. Stop the attacks.
Yeah, Netanyahu refused to follow Trump's directive, and granted, we need to recognize Israel as an independent country, and they can do what they want, but they should be able to do what they want without any U.S. support. And Trump needs to play hardball and use the power of the United States presidency to threaten Netanyahu that if he does that again, we'll immediately cut all military and security support for Israel for the duration of the conflict, both not only with Iran, but with Hamas as well. And we need to restore peace and stability in the Middle East. I would argue Trump should push for early elections in Israel, or better yet, for Netanyahu to resign. Even an opposition leader would be much better from a U.S. security perspective, in my opinion. So,
particularly when the guy's been on TV since 1995, telling us how Iran is weeks away from having the bomb. Okay, that alone really burns me up, right? I mean, is he knowingly being dishonest? Because again, it doesn't matter, David, if he thinks that or he doesn't think that. If he's doing that to manipulate politics in his own country, it's a free world. Go do that. But don't do this since 1995 and tell us how they're weeks and days away since 1995 over and over and over and over and over. We've played the clips of him doing that through the years. And then expect the U.S. to get involved if you're setting a false narrative, like the weapons of mass destruction that Saddam Hussein supposedly had that never turned out. But yeah, look how many dead we have from that and limbs blown off, right? So all I'm saying is Netanyahu needs to do what's best for his country. If he wants to deceive his country, if he wants to be a politician that's out there telling them things that are not true for a few decades, that's up to him and the people in his country. But don't do this kind of garbage and then expect us as Americans, and even people like me and you, Zionists, by the definition you gave tonight, to say, rah, rah, Benjamin. Because I'm thinking, I don't know if I can trust you. I don't, and I can't stand with an ally 100% when I think you're being dishonest or have been dishonest. Of course, this is the same guy that turned his country over to Pfizer's lab rats. We've seen the video. So I don't trust the guy. I've said that on my show now for a couple years. Before October 7th, the audience will remember on radio, I got angry twice before October 7th because I felt like he was not doing what was in the best interest to protect his country. And I'm no military expert, but I'm like, this guy's being a politician. And then October 7th happened. Right. And there's words that those gals were trying to warn the folks up the chain. They were being ignored. So I think you're right. I think Benjamin Netanyahu, and I was saying it before this whole scuffle kicked out, he needs to go. He needs to move on. But that's up to him and his country. That's their politics, not ours. But what I don't like is if you're going to go around being dishonest with national intelligence and international intelligence that now impacts us as a country, Well, that's fine. Do that to your people. But when you start doing that to us, that's not being a good ally. Would you agree?
I absolutely agree. And I just want to say the implications of Netanyahu's statements, claiming that Iran was on the verge of a nuclear capability for 30 years. Does he not understand what the implications of those statements are? He's basically saying Iran has been real close for 30 years and they've chosen not to get it because, he portrays accurately in some ways that Iran is a terrorist regime, that, Iran obviously is supporting anti-Israeli proxies, which, in some instances they've attacked Israel, and in other instances Israel's attacked them. Both sides unprovoked to some extent, both sides provoked. But yet, basically, what he's saying is, despite the fact that Iran is a terrorist state, that they've essentially chosen not to develop nuclear weapons, and that there's no urgent issue. Because was it urgent 30 years ago? Was it urgent, in 2003 when they were 3 months away, or in 2006 or 10 when they were maybe weeks away? And it just doesn't make sense. I mean, either they have a crash program to try to develop nuclear weapons, or they don't. But one thing we do know is Israel's claim that if Iran does get nuclear weapons, that they would immediately use them again, to give them to terrorists to destroy Tel Aviv or New York City is completely bogus. There's no basis for that. It's unsupportable. No country would do that. Especially in the case of Iran, where they need every nuclear weapon they can possibly have to try to restore deterrence against ongoing U.S., I guess not U.S. because that was a one and done, but Israeli attacks, which, Israel, as has been reported today, it's not Iran we have to worry about violating the ceasefire. It's Israel. Can Trump hold down Netanyahu successfully and prevent him from violating the ceasefire? I'm not sure if he can.
Well, clearly something's going on here because ABC News is reporting the FBI plans to shift agents from immigration enforcement to counterterrorism. So again, what has this all sparked? What has Benjamin Netanyahu helped to create? And he takes some responsibility by these statements since 1995, right? So what's going on here now? Obviously, there's some major threat that they're perceiving, or why else are they doing all of this? And of course, then you add in the anti-Semitism, and this behavior by Benjamin Netanyahu doing this over all these years like this, it only gives feed to the anti-Semites. Closing comment, 10 seconds.
Well, I think, you're absolutely right. Israel has created an existential threat that didn't exist before. It's much more imminent now. Iran is driving closer to developing more nuclear weapons. And they just said today that they're going to keep building nuclear weapons. They're going to keep developing them. And there's nothing we can do to stop them. dpine.substack.com, dpine.substack.com. As always, thank you, David. Thanks, Brandon.
We'll be right back after this break.
A lot of people are having great success with a weight management program with Bella Trim, but it's just a tool. In terms of ingredients, Chromex or chromium picolinate improves the actions of insulin, so you have better glucose management, and in addition, it promotes fat utilization. Fat utilization or fat burning is also a feature of metabolite, which are two botanicals that stimulate a switch called AMP kinase, and so you tend to burn fat, reduce belly fat or visceral fat. Who doesn't want that? Metabolite has the ability to stimulate satiety or reduce those cravings. That's really very, very important. And it does that by raising GLP-1 levels. In addition, we've addressed the microbiome by using prebiotics. Healthier microbiome, better weight management.
I'll tell you one little quick story. We had a Worldview Weekend client who lived in California, lost their house, very wealthy guy. He didn't use Bitcoin. He came over here, drove to Arizona with $286,000 worth of his gold because he had no money and no house available. His bank was shut down because he couldn't have access to his bank account.
Was this during the fire? Was this during the fires?
During the fire. Didn't have his driver's license. He lost it. The state wouldn't give him a new license because he had no active mailing address. Real mess. So he came to Arizona to buy a house. He's moving everything over. He said, the only thing I got in my possession that I can get liquid with right now is my gold. I gave him a check for $286,000, and guess what? I didn't need his social, his driver's license. Sort of smiled, and I said, I know you and Brandon talked about how this worked, but boy, this is great. I feel good. I got my money. Nobody bothered me, and I'm protected, and it's private.
Just simply go to worldviewgold.com, fill out the form, worldviewgold.com. All right, take a look at this headline. David Pine wrote this. Trump pivots back to America first with new Israel-Iran war ceasefire deal. President Donald Trump attacks Israel for flagrantly violating the ceasefire. His White House bristles from leak of top-secret DIA battle damage assessment showing no Iran nuke sites were destroyed. David Pine's article tonight. Very important because it shows us that apparently even neocons, some of the neocons, I'm guessing, in the Trump circles will gladly leak White House assessments in order to stir things up so they can be sure to get us going into another attack and broader level there in Iran. But then we also have the issue of regime change. I'm not for America doing that, but Iranians, where are they at? We're getting reports now that over 500 have been arrested in Iran, many of them Jews arrested in Iran. And by the way, when you talk about doing a ceasefire deal and having lasting peace, how do you do that with someone like the Khomeini, the quote supreme leader, who is just about as debased, demonic, disgusting piece of human trash to ever walk the planet? Do you guys realize? I know this is a smart audience, so you probably do. But do you think the simpletons that watch Fox News and digest that day in and day out? I mean, I'm not saying that some of you or I myself don't occasionally stop in to see what they're saying over there. But the people that just digest Fox News as the gospel day in and day out, so simple. I mean, Brian Kilmeade thinks these airplanes, these B-52s are taken off of aircraft carriers, for Pete's sake. McInerney or McCaney, what's her name? McKaylee or McCallie or who cares? What is it? What? McInerney? Something like that. Do we really care? No, we really don't. If I cared, I'd actually respect her enough to learn her name, but I don't care. But she thinks, we just got to swoop in with one plane and take care of this. These are the simpletons at Fox News. So I wonder if they realize this. Do they know that the Khomeini, do the neocons, and all these other people out there realize, and those who want to make peace with Iran, do you realize who you're trying to make peace with? The man has written a book. How to sexually molest infants. Are you ready for this? No, of course you're not. But this is what you need to know, because I don't think Fox Cartoon Network will tell you this. Let's be joined by Annie Cyrus. Annie, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me back, Brandon.
Annie, what about this? What about the Khomeini? Is it true he wrote a book or a manual on how to molest, sexually assault infants?
Technically, he wrote a book in two formats. I very briefly went over it on your radio, but in two formats. One is for the clerics and imams, more technical. One is for average people to read and understand, but both same concept. And within that book, yes, there are chapters under the chapter of marriage and the rules and regulations. There are different parts that are very disturbing, but there's also the part that is allowing. So the exact code, the exact is you can marry a girl under age of 9, even if she's still being breastfed, which makes her an infant. You can have sexual intercourse, but this list of sexual abuse is allowed.
Don't show her my screen because it's got all of her personal stuff on it. But I asked her to translate it and send it over to us, okay? Don't show it, but let me just read it, guys, right? This is the translation. Ayatollah Khomeini, Volume 2, Section on Marriage. Ready for this? Quote, a man can marry a girl younger than 9 years of age even a baby, still being breastfed. But he's not allowed to have sexual intercourse with her while she is under 9. Other forms of sexual pleasure, such as touching with lust, embracing, and thighing, are permitted. If the girl is injured as a result, the man must provide for her care for the rest of her life, end quote. Now, again, I don't want to get too graphic here, people, but do you understand what he's describing here? There was a word used in there that a lot of you maybe have never heard used in this manner, and what it even means. But let me tell you what it means. It means that a man can be involved in sexual behavior with an infant. And by the way, touching with lust, really? This is the former leader, the Ayatollah Khomeini. But these ideas in this worldview continues, right, Annie?
Absolutely. Even the current supreme leader, untouched. Every ruling of Khomeini's book, he approved of to carry on as the ruling of the country when he became. So even though it was originally written by Khomeini, Khomeini approved of, and it has been practiced to this day. So the author might have been Khomeini, but Khomeini is still following it to the T. Nothing has changed. So yes. And by the way, if you read the hadith narrated by Aisha herself, the words you're seeing in that fatwa by Khomeini, Brannon, there's a hadith that Aisha explains that Prophet didn't have intercourse with me until I was 9, but those terms are used through her own mouth, narrating that he did do those to me until from 6 to 9. And then at 9, he consummated the marriage. Again, proving that these mullahs aren't making things up. They are still following Muhammad. The ideology is rooted in everything we expose here.
And the reason I'm bringing all this up tonight is to say these are the kind of people that I guess we're supposed to have a negotiated peace with, right? All right?
Yes.
You trust these people? You trust these people? Sexual deviants that are writing on how it is you can molest an infant, and you think these are the people you can coexist with and make peace with? Now, again, I got to be consistent. I'm not for doing regime change in America, for us to do it. I'm not for us to go over there and get involved. But I am saying, why did we not just let Benjamin Netanyahu loose? He said he could do it. He said he could do it on his own, unless he was lying and then gets involved and then screams to President Trump, come save me. But he said he could do it on his own. He said he had the commandos to do it. We should have backed off, let them do it. And now, I don't think most Americans realize the depths of perversion and demonic evilness of this regime. But keep in mind, Americans, now that we've gotten involved, as we have, these people over there, they're in charge, have their terror cells here, which is why it's being reported by ABC News tonight that the FBI is now moving a lot of their resources from deporting immigrants to fighting terror cells. So do we realize just who our enemy is? And I would say no. And we've been trying for how many decades here to tell the American people who the enemy is, to know the enemy, their worldview, their ideas, their philosophies, even down to their books on how you can molest and sexually molest infants. The American people don't know our enemy nor understand them unless you're a regular viewer of this program. But this is what you're not being told in other networks. And this is why I don't think this peace deal is going to hold. And if it does, it'll only be while Iran repairs, gets restocked, resupplies, and then does terrorism with their proxies. So what am I suggesting? I'm suggesting we should not have been calling off Benjamin Netanyahu's troops and Air Force from finishing the job. That's my opinion.
I 100% agree, and I will add this. Number one, how President Trump treated the situation this morning, making history to be the first president to drop words that shouldn't be dropped as a president. saying that Israel and Iran have fought for so long that they don't know what they're doing anymore, censored through my filter, it tells me that President Trump himself still doesn't understand that this isn't a fight over territory or border. Israel had no fight with Iran whatsoever until 46 years ago. Again, another Substack of mine showing the history of Iran under Pahlavi and Israel relation. He's making it as if Israel picked a fight with Iran out of the blue 12 days ago, and now Trump came in and put them in their place. That's undermining the depth of the Islamic movement inside Middle East. And another thing to say, not your audience, but Brandon, what you just described, not to undermine Khomeini's sickness and Islam's pervert mind of a prophet, but right here in America, we have child pornography going on, and Americans are still looking the other way. What makes you think they're going to care about what the Iranian mullahs are going to say about it?
Well, and you know what? That's a very good point, because guess what has gone on here in America? The same thing that the Ayatollah was teaching that we read has really been going on in America through Alfred Kinsey. Alfred Kinsey. You have a whole chapter on him in my book, Grave Influence. Alfred Kinsey, who is the father of the sex ed system in America, really, and the sexual revolution, sexuality of human male, sexuality of human female. Hollywood made a movie praising him, Alfred Kinsey. He believed children should be sexually active by age 6, right? His so-called researchers were involved in the sexual molestation of children as young as age 3 months of age. So, Annie, I don't know if you know all that, but you're dead right. No wonder America thinks we can make peace with these kind of people when we've been teaching the same ideology in America, making heroes of men like Alfred Kinsey, and letting him be the basis of the sex ed curriculum in America. And if people don't know what I'm talking about, there's a whole chapter documented in my 2009 book, Grave Influence. So maybe that's why we have people that think they can make peace with Iran and we can all get along, is because we don't understand there's more common in the worldview between these two groups than I like to admit, from America to Iran, when it comes to the way we view children.
Yes, I'm actually working on a research of the red-green axis depth of connection, and that is part of the research, that the reason we accepted Muslims in America very easily and freely to have child brides, and everything else that comes with them, female genital mutilation, is because part of the brainwash here started when we have the LGBTQ now having map on it, and for many years having child pornography become a very normal thing. Not everybody participates in it, but they are okay with it existing in America. It's again, the scary part is normalization on both sides of red-green again. And now, I don't even know if you want to go there with the topic, but, with New York shining a star and rising a star of red-green symbol in Queens, it's just the spread of it here is so terrifying. And when I watch people cheer what President Trump just did, the ceasefire I'm referring to, it just takes me back to, I don't know, maybe me and you haven't done enough, Brandon, because majority still thinks all of this is just fine. It's okay. It's not my kid. It's not my door. It's not my backyard. It's not my son joining the army. So it's okay.
All right, well, let me go to another report real quick tonight, Annie, and that is, so let me ask you this before I go to the next report. You don't think this is going to last, do you? Are you thinking it'll
Absolutely. No.
It won't last?
No.
The ceasefire won't last?
No.
Okay. We're going to be right back with more. Annie has a new report up on this, by the way, at her website, which is liveuptofreedom.substack.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. When I come back, I want to talk to Annie about a report by Oversight Project. Cell phones of protesters pinging back to Iran and China. Wow. Again, maybe there's a reason why the FBI is moving more of their resources this evening, to dealing with terrorist cells in the U.S. Oh, by the way, they said they rounded up some of the Iranians, the worst of the worst. Well, why'd they just get them now? We'll be right back.
Two years ago, whatever was 100% of my traffic to my website, it's been crashed by 95%. That's stunning to me. Mostly Google has done it, but other actors as well. What's happening on a global basis, there's a war against free speech. It's not just an incidental thing, oh, we just want to shut somebody up. That's not it. This is an orchestrated, top-down war against free speech. All the things you have coming out of Worldview Tube and Weekend, etc., all of these things are expression of free speech. And I can dare say that their traffic has been hammered as well. If they're successful, these masters of tyranny, if these people are successful shutting down free speech, we're all dead at that point, basically, because that's where the killing is going to start. This is what's on the chopping block right now. The reason you look at this organization just is because you could get something out of it, right? You should look at this organization as an organization that needs to support just to keep free speech alive, period. Who are you going to turn to at this point if this voice was silenced? Where would you go? Newsmax? Give me a break. No. Fox News? No. So I want to encourage you, support the foundation, support Brandon's work here any way that you can.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Tube, Brandon House Live, worldviewtube.com. Tell all your family and friends about it. Don't forget, a great way to support yourself, your health, and us. Bottle of Grace. I take it each and every day. Powerful elixir. MelissaHouseBG.com. MelissaHouseBG.com. I think we have a lower third for that. Melissa House BG. There it is. MelissaHouseBG.com. 80 clinical trials, folks. The real deal. The real deal. All right. I want to ask Annie about this before we go. First of all, take a look at this. This is an older map from the DEA. I wish they would update it. But this is area of influence of major Mexican transnational criminal organizations within the DA field offices. Look at all that. Okay? These are, again, your major Mexican transnational criminal organizations. Now, what about ones that aren't Mexican? And we know that these groups are working together with the Islamists. We know that. Again, we're just trying to tell Americans what all this means. As tonight, the FBI is moving more of their resources, according to ABC News, they're moving more of their agents from immigration enforcement to counterterrorism. What do they know that we don't know? What are they seeing? What are they hearing? Something's up. Why else would they be moving these? FBI shifting their agents from immigration enforcement to counterterrorism. And then we have to add another report to that night, and that comes from the Oversight Project. The Oversight Project has a report out tonight about cell phones that are pinging back to Iran and China. Cell phone locations link far-left protest organizations to Iran and China. Phones visiting the Answer Coalition and Party for Socialism and Liberation also visited Iran and the Chinese consulate. Well, there you go. We analyzed the data from devices visiting Answer's PSL's public San Francisco address. One device had 4 data points at the address, which appear to correspond to two distinct visits, distinct visits separated by 1.5 years. The same device had 213 data points in Iran. If IP addresses associated with devices, Iranian data are registered to the Mobile Communication Company of Iran. This strongly supports that the device was in Iran and not spoofing itself on its location. Another device had data points at the Answers PSL location and at a building next door, which appears to be unoccupied. This device also had 58 data points in the San Francisco consulate of the People's Republic of China. Annie, what do you make of this? The Mexican transnational groups around the country working with Islamists, I believe they are from everything I've been reading for years. And then now these cell phones tied to these street fighters pinging back to China and Iran. And then the FBI moving assets from immigration to dealing with this. Is something in the wind? Are they seeing something? Are they hearing something? What does all this tell you? And by the way, this has all apparently started since this little show kicked off in the Middle East.
I apologize as I'm going to sound anti-Trump again, but that's not the intention. You know, sometimes when the leader of the great power of America decide to not separate the line between presidential attitude versus I own a social media platform, so I'm going to say whatever I want because I own it, things could get a little out of control. And on top of that, it can get very confusing for its citizens. Let me be more clear. President Trump comes out, say, okay, ceasefire, congratulations, world, I did it, give me the peace prize, let's go, this is amazing. Then he comes out and says, Iran will never resume building their nuclear facilities or bomb, ever. And then comes out and say, last thing in their mind is nuclear right now. Then the U.S. representative at UN a few hours ago says, we have reached our limited objective, which was to slow down Iran's nuclear. A slowdown? We went from we blew everything up and ashes are left behind to they will never try again to they don't even think about nuclear to our own representative saying, oh no, our objective was just to push them back a little bit. When you mix all of that together, comes the situation for Americans where we have sleeper cells in America who have shown their colors. They have acted before. It's not like this is something new and, you know, you don't have any proof to back it up, Brandon. You have reported, I have reported on your show many times of a sleeper cells attacking. Hey, we started this year, 2025, New Year's Eve started with the sleeper cells, didn't it? Then you have the cartel and IRGC collaborating for over 4 years now. Todd Bensman has exclusively reported on that, so have I. And then you also have Islamic Republic of Iran, Russia, and China freely funding the destruction of America through our own borders, which you all went through all three of them. But the problem is, one, our leadership, regardless of a Republican, Democrat, and apparently even a MAGA leader, they tend to worry about ego, power, credit, some sort of prize, than genuinely facing facts, sitting down and saying, okay, this is a mess and I need to clean it up. And then our Americans, fellow Americans, most of them already said the narrative, Brandon. I can't tell you how many times today I have heard from conservative alternative media and Christian media saying, watch as they're going to do a false attack and then blame Iran for it. How do we clean that up when our own people are saying that Iran will never attack us? They're going to do a false attack and blame Iran for it. Like Iran is this innocent little country in the corner of Middle East doing its own thing, and we're just constantly blaming it for things. So at this point, this moment of this day, I am at a point of what you said a few weeks ago on your show, and I am out of arguments with it. Unfortunately, our fellow Americans are about to get what they deserve. Due to lack of willingness to learn, due to absolute denial that is more comfortable, and due to idolizing a flawed man who's making mistakes over and over, but we're not willing to call him out on it.
And if you do disagree, you get attacked by the MAGA crowd. you get demonetized as they've done, taking thousands of dollars away from you because you've been attacked in false reports about your Facebook page. And Colonel Manus was talking tonight about how he's being attacked. People are just presenting the truth. But apparently some people can't handle the truth. They don't want the truth. They don't want the truth about their politicians. And they don't want the truth about Islam. They don't want the truth about terror cells in the country. They don't want any of this if it disrupts their life. Again, most people in America, including a lot of the MAGA crowd, excluding those that watch this broadcast, have put a governor on their brain, and they only want so much truth. I only want so much truth. Can I buy $5 of truth? Well, you need $1,000. No, I only want $5 worth of truth, because any more than that will interrupt my lifestyle, and ignorance is bliss.
Make sure that $5 is from the comfort zone category, please. Don't go outside of that. Anything that might hurt my comfort, anything that might require extra brain cells to process, I don't want it. You
So anything that might interrupt my entertainment and my nihilism and my hedonism, I don't want. I'm too busy being entertained. I don't want anything to just kill my buzz and disrupt my vacations and my games and my sporting events. No, give me a $5 worth of truth. Anything above that, I don't want. They got a governor on their brain, and the Bible says, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. Now, let's put that in context. It's talking about the Bible. My people perish, and the Jewish people perish because of lack of knowledge from God, the Bible, the precepts of God, the teachings of God, right? But we can apply that within reason to Christians, to those who claim to be Christians. A nation can perish because it doesn't have enough knowledge, acquisition of truth, therefore it doesn't have enough wisdom, the application of that truth. And I'm sorry, you and I know, Annie, that many, many Christians in America are some of the most ignorant people we've met. That's not being mean or unkind. It's true. There's a lot of Christians that are very educated, very educated. There's a lot of non-Christians that are very educated up on what's happening. But we know that in the evangelical world, I know that. For years I've known, in decades, some of the biggest opposition to what we were doing were from so-called evangelical Christians who did not want to know the truth. And where it would call us names. A lot of the names, conspiracy theorists, all these names came from so-called evangelicals, some of them evangelical pastors that I personally know. I can't tell you, I won't say who, but I know of an evangelical pastor that thought that what I was writing and saying for years was just over the top. And then the guy actually asked if I would give him 2 of my books, and I said, why? He said, I want to write a book similar to your 2 in one book without naming the names. Yeah, that's right. So we know that we've gotten in this mess largely because the church in America, Christians, that's the church, ecclesia called out ones, the church in America has done the same thing. They've put a governor on their brain, and they only want a little bit of God. They want to go to church, and they want to sing self-absorbed songs. They want to sing these feminized, self-absorbed songs. They want to get a thumping sound system, light show, a smoke machine in there. And then they want a feel-good, tickle my ears message from not a pastor that said, thus saith the Lord, teaches the Bible. They want pop psychology, how to have your best life now, make sure you're done by noon, and I'm out the back door. You know what? As you said, ideas have consequences. And now we don't understand the worldview war, the philosophies, the ideas. We don't understand why this is happening. And if you don't understand why, then you can't fight it. And that's why my wife and I started Worldview Weekends in February of 1993. Because people have to understand the worldview war. Your worldview is the foundation of your values are the foundation of your conduct. And yet most Americans have no idea what the 6 dominant worldviews are, which include Marxism, which include Islam. They don't. And now here we are, completely infiltrated within, trying to be good to our Jewish friends, to be a blessing to them, to help them, to defend them, but while also doing what's right by our own families. because he who does not provide for his family is worse than an infidel. And now you see how you and I and others that are trying to follow those biblical mandates find ourselves in the position we're in. I mean, we really are in a difficult spot because we're trying to help Israel, be a blessing to our Jewish friends in the Jewish state, but also defend our families. And we should have never even been put in this position. But we were because our pastors failed us. They didn't want to teach the hard truth. Our politicians failed us. They didn't want to speak the hard truth. Our media failed us because they lied to us. And they pushed the narrative of the uniparty, the globalist, the CIA. And it's hard to combat a false church, false teachers, false pastors, a corrupt media, and corrupt politicians. And then we're left here speaking truth again, being attacked by all sides because we're simply telling the truth. Annie?
I don't know if I can add anything. You said it so perfectly. The only thing I will add is for anyone who thinks what I heard this on a program saying President Trump was upset this morning because after everything we did for Israel in last few days, the minimum they could do for Trump was cooperation with ceasefire. Let me say something to the address of blessing our friends, Jewish friends in Israel. Sometimes a blessing is you not getting in the way. For anyone who's expecting Israel to show gratitude for what we did Saturday, don't forget what we did Monday. Okay, we just took away 12 days of amazing operation, almost 10 years of amazing planning, so our president could possibly be nominated for Peace Prize. There is nothing to be grateful for that.
No. LiveUpToFreedom.com, LiveUpToFreedom.com, and LiveUpToFreedom.substack.com, LiveUpToFreedom.substack.com. Annie, as always, thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much, Brian, and stay safe.
You too, my friend. We'll be right back.
Looking for a trusted source to understand today's world through a Christian worldview? Worldview Tube is built on the 35 years of Worldview books, columns, research, and high-profile interviews of Brannon House. Want to know more about Worldview Tube, its founder, history, team, and mission? Visit worldviewtube.com/about. That's worldviewtube.com/about. Worldview Tube is your source for understanding the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
Nature has a rhythm, a quiet strength, a way of restoring, protecting, and renewing us. Wellness isn't just about how you feel today. It's the quiet choices you make for tomorrow. At myvitamin.com/worldview, we've made daily self-care simple. Quality vitamins, daily supplements, and targeted nutrition. myvitamin.com/worldview makes it easy. Pure ingredients thoughtfully combined, tailored for your body. Formulated by a doctor who has over 25 years of medical practice experience and is a certified functional medicine provider. Visit myvitamin.com/worldview today and take the next step towards strength, balance, and resilience. Discover the wide range of med packs made for you and your loved ones. What you nurture today becomes the strength you walk in tomorrow.
Joining me now is Dr. Lana. Dr. Lana, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
As always, love being here with you and everyone, Brandon.
Well, thank you. As always, you're very popular with our audience as we love to talk about major health issues. Let's talk about one today. What's on the agenda for today, health-wise?
Well, we're talking about radiation and radon and the EMFs that no one honestly can escape in today's world.
I just saw a report on the EMF, and the more the reports come out, the more we see that this is really disrupting people at the cellular level, correct?
That's it. And again, your audience does. We didn't even plan what you were going to say about the cellular level. And that is exactly what I was going to describe to everyone. People don't realize. And, these things like computers, phones, everyone has them. We live in this beautiful Western affluent nation. And what happens is two things to remember. That radiation is damaging brain cells, heart cells, and muscle cells. And what happens is your cells have two layers, and the medical doctors will be fancy and say it's called a phospholipid bilayer. Okay, so there's two layers in your cell membranes. And guess what? Hormones need to get in and out of your cells. Toxins, garbage needs to get out, and glucose, nutrients need to get in. But when you're around these EMFs or radiation or radon, what happens is those doors and windows, okay, on your double layers around your double layers of cell membranes, they get clogged or they get damaged or they get misshapen. Okay, so even if you're eating broccoli and organic strawberries and Brussels sprouts and all that good stuff, it doesn't mean that the nutrients are getting inside your cells. And remember, radon, radiation, EMF, that damage from cell phones, computers, and radiation in general causes damage to your brain, heart, and muscle cells. So honestly, and again, we always say this, but we didn't plan this. You have to find a way to get specific nutrients inside your cells, not just floating around in your bloodstream. So what do you need to fight this? You need vitamin C, you need vitamin E, you need omega-3 fatty acids, you need selenium, you need zinc, you need glutathione. What do you think is in the beautiful, beautiful God's single cell microscopic food, the Gaditana and tetraslide phytoplankton? And why is that important? It's not man-made, God made it, right? However, it has all of those nutrients needed to fight radiation and EMFs. However, it is microscopic. They're 1.2 micrometers in size. Your cells are 7 to 100 micrometers in size. So those nutrients, the selenium, the zinc, the omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin B6, vitamin C, vitamin E, everything you need to fight radiation and EMFs is in the Global Phytoplankton Alliance, Gaditana, and Tetrasod. However, it is small enough to get inside your cells. And that is exactly what you need. The other thing that will detoxify radiation, the only other molecule is glutathione, and that's in the swish. But phytoplankton is God's food that gets inside the cell membranes. Most of the supplements and things that we're taking do not get inside your cells. And I want to say one more quick thing about the phytoplankton. It's all good because we just keep growing it, right? We grow the biomass. American families, it is our mission to help every American family learn about that phytoplankton and get it in their families. So you may be, if you don't stock up right now, we always get more, but right now American families are learning about the Gaditana and Tetrasod, and you may be on a waiting list. So I would get on Brandon and Melissa's, the melissahousegpa.com, and make sure that you and your family don't run out.
Absolutely. 100%. Let me play a clip from Joe Rogan talking to RFK Jr. about this. Listen to this.
So what do you think Wi-Fi is doing to us, since it's everywhere and since everyone's experiencing, including you? What do you think it's doing to us?
I think it degrades your mitochondria. And it opens your blood-brain barrier.
Do you see anything online of how it could open up your blood-brain barrier?
I don't know about how, but that
it does?
I found an article. I was trying to find the validity of it, but it has a statement on here.
Damage to the blood-brain barrier. Radio frequency radiation exposure has been shown to affect the permeability of the blood-brain barrier, as well as altering the expression of microRNA within the brain, which researchers state could lead to adverse effects such as neurodegenerative disease. Whoa. How come we don't know that?
And there's a doctor that did a study and said that it's been expanded on researchers in China, and there's a published article here, but I was looking around at the page and
They call it leaky brain.
The findings were followed by suppression, misinformation, and a shutdown of government-funded research in the United States.
Of course. Of course.
Absolutely. And, the blood-brain barrier is the layer of cells that protects the bad stuff, the toxins, the toxic chemicals from getting inside your brain. And all of this, the radiation, the EMFs, it can go right through the blood-brain barrier into your brain. And the phytoplankton from Global Phytoplankton Alliance, because it is the leanest, cleanest, most nutritionally comprehensive phytoplankton in the world, gets across your blood-brain barrier and gets inside your cells. So that's a good thing. And it fuels your mitochondria. You heard RFK Jr. and Joe Rogan saying it damages this EMF, 5G, all of this Wi-Fi damages your mitochondria. Your mitochondria, my friends, think of it as the electricity for your house. Think of it as the battery in your cars. So I want you to think you're not going to live with electricity anymore. That'd be tough. You're not going to have a battery in an engine in your car or any vehicle ever again. That'd be really tough. That's what your mitochondria is. It's your engine and your electricity to the cells, to the rest of your body. So the phytoplankton is getting in your cells and fueling your battery, turning on the electricity in your house. It's fueling the mitochondria, the battery pack, and the glutathione is detoxing away the remnants of the radiation.
Here's an article. This is how I knew this was disrupting us at the cellular level. If you were wondering, because again, we don't rehearse these. I read this. June 22nd, 2025. MIT just completed the first brain scan study of ChatGPT users, and the results are terrifying, extremely concerning. Okay, let me just give you a few headlines. And you can go to this and go to the whole study, okay? But let me just give you a few. Brain connectivity declines with artificial intelligence use. EEG scans revealed a systematic scaling down of neural connectivity in the brain with increasing reliance on external tools. Okay, LLM users forget what they just wrote. In post-task interviews, 83.3% of LLM users were unable to quote even one sentence from the essay they had just written. What does LLM stand for? Just so large language model. Okay. In contrast, 88.9% of search and brain-only users could quote accurately. 0% of LLM users could produce a correct quote, while most brain-only and search users could. AI disrupts memory and learning pathways. Participants previously using LLMs, then writing without it in Section 4, showed weaker memory recall, lower alpha and beta neural engagement, signs of cognitive adaptation toward passivity. Wait a minute. Signs of cognitive adaptation toward passivity and efficiency at the cost of effortful learning. I guess that's
learning.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to say it. But I want to hone in on this one. Signs of cognitive adaptation toward passivity.
Mm-hmm.
Is our government in favor of this because it's making us all passive? Go along to get along, not be thinkers, to be dumbed down masses? Is that what's going on here?
I was just going to say, dumb down, suppress. That's exactly what it does. And we were just talking with friends the other night about, we had taken our child, this many, many years ago, to actually a Japanese math and reading learning center, because this was many, many, many years ago. And She did very, very well because the regular school systems were dumbing down math and reading. So this is exactly what AI is doing, exactly what ChatGPT. And people are like, I'm just going to, figure out my life and put everything in ChatGPT. It is dumbing down your brain. And as you heard from RFK Jr. and Joe Rogan, it is damaging your body, your brain, your heart, your liver, your temple from God at a cellular level. And there are only a few things that can go in and protect and guard your mitochondria and all of the beautiful membranes around your cells and allow them to function normally again. And if you don't detox the radiation remnants out, that's part 2 of it. And the only thing I know, and I just talked to the founder, Steve Scott, of this company. He called me actually last week. And he said, we have studied glutathione for 20 years. And we are the only place that you can find the whole glutathione molecule wrapped in water, more pure than a hospital IV, because water will get in to your cells. Your cells love it. Okay. Your body loves water. It's not wrapped in fat like a lot of these supplements are. And most supplements are too big to get in your cells. Most supplements don't even make it past your gut. So I want you to understand 2 things about this gaditana or tetrasod and the glutathione. The gaditana or tetrasod, it doesn't matter which one you get, is like pulling in God's food, God's nutrition, pure nutrition. There's nothing added to this without digestion. You do not digest this. So you're getting the nutrients like you would really good organic food without having to go through the digestive process. And as you know, we're going to be talking about gut health down the road, but most of us have a damaged gut microbiome. And most of our cell membranes are damaged. So we're not getting that nutrition inside our cell. And we are a toxic waste dump. I'm sorry, all of us are in the United States. We've got to use glutathione to consistently, every day, a couple of times a day, detox the radiation, the heavy metals, the chemicals, toxins, and forever chemicals that we all have in our bloodstream and in our cells.
Imagine I want to play this. Listen to this. Let's see what this is about. Here we go. Check this out.
Imagine a magnetic wand that could control your brain. To find out if such a thing could actually work, I offered my own brain for a test. It seemed like fun at the time.
Hold it up, you can look at it.
Psychiatrist and neurologist Mark George said he could make my thumb twitch.
Jeez, it does.
Oh, that was nice. Using a map of the brain, he can zap the area that controls a specific body part, like my toe.
Oh, wow. Is that my stroke a little too much?
A little bit, yeah, it was a little much.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The wand can even affect someone's speech.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
And once the pulse is removed,
25, 26.
Everything goes back to normal.
29, 30.
It's sort of a remarkable thing that one can put something over somebody's head and modify the way they behave.
Wow. The wand works by producing a powerful magnetic pulse.
So it doesn't look like a lot, but the magnetic field that it generates is about the strength of an MRI machine, of a very strong MRI machine.
Since electricity and magnetism are really just 2 forms of the same thing, a magnet can affect the electrical signals in your brain. Now this is your brain. It's basically an electric web of billions of neurons wired together. When a strong magnetic pulse hits these neurons, it alters their electric current. The process is called transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS.
Electricity is the currency of the brain. All thoughts, all beliefs, all actions are just electrical impulses.
And so TMS, we're actually able to get in there and influence the currency of the brain focally and non-invasively.
The stronger the magnetic pulse, the deeper into the brain it goes.
Okay. Now, the one thing I take issue with is this idea that all of our thoughts, everything is just electrical impulses, because I think that's taking away the concept of the idea of the soul, the mind. So I don't know if that guy's coming from a naturalistic standpoint, secular humanist standpoint, but I come at it obviously from the standpoint of the natural and the spiritual, the natural and the soul, the mind, the soul, the heart. I do an autopsy, I can show you the brain. Do an autopsy, I cannot show you the mind. The mind is tied to the soul, to the heart, to the conscience. So I would take issue with that. But I do find that little test interesting to show how our brains can be impacted by directed energy weapons, by signals. I mean, can we not take that and say, look, now, if there's the ability to impact it like that, of course, I know they're putting it up close to the head and all that, but does that not show us a little bit of why we should be concerned with all these electromagnetic pulses or electromagnetic forces running through our 5G and computers that we're surrounded by all the time?
Oh, absolutely. I tell people all the time, and I totally agree with you too. I mean, I feel like, God's in my heart, my soul, the mind and the brain, like work together, but they're two different things. The mind is your subconscious, the conscious mind, and the brain is an organ. So that said, to your point, Brandon, this was quite a few years ago, but the high school in our area, there were a group of students who all developed thyroid cancer in high school. They all lived in the same neighborhood where they built all these homes with fairly new neighborhood, and all this whole electronic, telephone poles and cables were put all above ground, running behind in the backyards of this neighborhood. And all these kids lived in that neighborhood. They're all okay, thank God. This was quite a few years ago, about over 10 years ago, but they all lived in that neighborhood. They all had thyroid cancer. It's absolutely real. I tell everybody, don't ever use, I know Apple and all the other Androids and everything, they're really handy dandy and make our life convenient. Do not put those buds in your ears. You know that. Use wires. When you can, if I'm working consistently at my computer, put blue light glasses on, get outside, honestly, and walk in the grass in your bare feet. Go out and sit where the sun is for like 10 minutes, if you can, if the sun is out. Let it hit your face and your neck. You've got to have good, clean, still filtered water, and save money on all these supplements and vitamins and multivitamins. Most of them aren't even bioavailable. They're not getting in your cells. I can't impress enough that, and I'm so grateful that I was told about this phytoplankton in the glutathione. You hear me say this a lot, everyone. If you had to run to a desert island and God said you could take as much as you want, what are you going to take besides, there's food on the island and clean water? It would be the phytoplankton and the glutathione, because your cells physically need it every day. And most of what we're taking and doing, a lot of people are spending so much money at the vitamin store and on all these other, sites and that, getting all these supplements that are really just not bioavailable, and they are not the right nutrients and the right ingredients to go in and do the job. And this is just the masterful combination here.
Absolutely. And folks, again, if you go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors, you'll find all of them. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Obviously, the water, she keeps talking about good water. We know that our system we use filters out all that fluoride, all those chemicals, all the things she's talking about. All of this stuff comes out. This is the water I drink. This is what we make our coffee with. This is what Dolly drinks, worldviewwater.net. Of course, we have the Global Plankton Alliance, MelissaHouse.gpa.com, and we have the Swish with the glutathione. These things really complement each other. Bella Grace, Numi, Gatatana. These three things in closing, they really do complement each other, do they not, Dr. Lana?
Absolutely. 100%. And it's not, last thing I'll share, Brandon, they're not a luxury, honestly. I mean, it's a necessity in today's world. Hence the radiation radon and the 5G just totally destroying brain cells, heart cells, and muscle cells. So they are a necessity.
Yep. And there's really no way for us to avoid all these toxins, right? I mean, they're everywhere. You're breathing them in, you try to avoid them. But I mean, how many ladies in this audience get their hair dyed, right?
I know.
And how many toxins are in hair dye, right? So you're not going to avoid everything. You're going to have to say, well, it's important to me that, I look a certain way and I'm going to go and get my hair done. Ladies, you say that, you get it dyed or colored or whatever you do, and you're going to do it because it's important to you, right? But you're choosing to do that, which is I'm not saying don't do that. My wife does it, but you're going to want to make sure that you're offsetting the toxins. And this is, again, where the Squish for Life comes in, the Numi comes in, all these things come in, because we can't avoid these things 100%. Closing comment?
No, absolutely. And they did a study, took the blood from umbilical cords in brand new born babies. Every one of them, like 20,000, had forever chemicals in the baby's umbilical cord. So you cannot avoid it. So ladies, go get it. I want to look nice too. My daughter helps me do my nails, and I was born blonde, a white toe head, but I get mixed colors put in because it makes you feel good.
Right.
But for all the serious forever chemicals and toxins that we can't escape, the gadolinium and the glutathione in your belly grace.
Absolutely. Worldviewtube.com/sponsors and inspiredbywellness.com. Dr. Loudon, as always, thank you for our Tuesday visits.
My pleasure.
All right, before we go tonight, remember worldviewfoundation.com. Great way to support us as we push out free programming, absolutely free. I know I mention it a lot, folks, but it's one of the biggest ways you can support us to help us keep pushing out free programming, worldviewfoundation.com. You'll also find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail. Our phone number if you prefer to make a contribution over the phone. Hey, don't forget about our free apps as well. worldviewtube.com/APPS, worldviewtube.com/APPS. Be sure to set that you want to get our notifications so that when we do go live, sometimes outside of our normal broadcast schedule, you'll be notified. We've done that the last few weekends in a row due to the war in the Middle East. So set that you want to get our push notifications. If you already have the app, but you're not getting those, then you don't have the push notification set to get those. So what you do is you go into settings, go down to you see notifications, right, Logan? Yep. And then look for our app. And when you see our app, click it, and then push the green button, turn notifications on. Then whenever we're about to go live, you'll get a push notification saying we're about to go live, and you can join us. Again, our free programs every day pushed out, and then the free apps. How do we pay for it all? Well, in part through our sponsor, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. Roll the music. Let's call it a night. Pray for President Trump. He's got a lot on his plate, doesn't he? A lot on his shoulders. The Bible says to pray for our leaders. Let's pray for President Trump tonight. Let's pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Really, when we pray for that, we're praying for the millennial kingdom, because that's when there's going to be peace. And that's in fitting with the Lord's Prayer, right? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's during the millennial reign. So when we pray for the peace of Jerusalem, we're also praying for that millennial reign of Christ. Oh, won't you be glad for that, my friends? Yep, I am. So pray for our nation's leaders, pray for our president, pray for the Prime Minister of Israel, folks. Now let's try to come together as a coalition. Even when we disagree, let's get together where we do agree. Let's try to restore the republic. Till next time at Brandon House. May God save America. Take care.
Faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility.